3, 2, 1. Part 1 of the water bottle rocket build, we just used a simple idea of just getting a rubber stopper, drill a 1/16 hole through it, press a inflation needle through it, and just force that into a bottle, a plastic bottle, and then pump it up, and when it got to high enough pressure it would pop off. What we saw, it worked good. It was really easy and simple, but we weren't able to get a whole lot of pressure up. It would pop off before we got a lot of pressure, so we weren't getting real high launches. We weren't getting a lot of altitude. So I come up with a alternative approach, and what it allows to do is, we'll see what's inside in a second, but you can attach the pump it up to pressure, watching the gauge on a pump till you get to the desired pressure, shooting for about no more than 50 psi, and then when you get up to pressure, you pull these pins and it allows it to release and come off. So if you notice inside, it's the same thing. It's a stopper with a hole drilled through it and an inflation needle, but I've added a washer and I've drilled out a coupling that takes into advantage this little lip on the bottle, and when I slide these pins in, the pins rest against these edges, and that allows us to build pressure up, and then you pull the pins out and you get a much higher launch. So we're going to go through how to build this up. It does require some drilling. You have to drill these holes in, but I think I've come up with a pretty straightforward technique to get that done. So you will need to get a drill with a 1/4 inch bit for our next step. At the end of the video, I'll show pictures of the parts that I got, what the name of the part is. I bought a lot of these parts at Home Depot as well as Ace Hardware, which I had both locally available. So, and it's important to follow. What I found out is that these two couplings have the same function of what they do. So if you went to different companies and said what you needed, they'd give you these two different couplings. And you know, when you're actually working with PVC, they do the same function. But unfortunately, the dimensions really are important for what we're getting ready to go through. So you need this coupling, this style coupling that doesn't have the flats on it. I got this one from Home Depot. Like I said, I'll show you the picture of it. You can get them online as well if you don't have a Home Depot in your area. But it's important to get this coupling for this project. You also need a drill, said, with a 1/4 inch bit. Some Scotch tape for this step. I bought this T. I'm going to use it as a drilling fixture so I can hold my coupling in when I drill my holes through. I'll show you this as well at the end. And then you'll need a Sharpie and then a piece of paper approximately 5 inches long, and then you need to mark a spot for the beginning, or 0, at 1 1/4, at 2 5/8, at 3 7/8. And in between the 0 and the 1 1/4, just draw a little line to indicate that spot. In between 2 5/8 and 3 7/8, draw a little line as well. So get your coupling, and a piece of tape, and we're going to tape our piece of paper with our dimensions on there onto the coupling. Leave a little bit of gap because you need to put the marks. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch up top. So just tape it and wrap it around and tape it again. Transfer your marks. Above the 0, I'll put the mark. I'll draw my line that I referred to there. At 1 1/4, I'll transfer my mark. 2 5/8, transfer my mark. I'll draw my line here. And at 3 7/8, I drill my mark. So now I'm ready to drill it out. What you just have is 2 marks, your line, 2 marks, and your line. So to drill it out, I'll insert it into my coupling, with up top, my first mark, I'm going to drill. Now when you drill, it's important, we want the hole to be just up against this lip. So I'm going to put the bit just right up underneath there when I drill. And then after I drill through, make it through the coupling, this black line is going to show me that I want to get this hole and point it slightly that direction. And the reason why is that when I put the pins in there, the pin needs to go across here and across here. So I'm trying to get the holes kind of aimed that direction. So I'll go through and then I'll just bend the bit over, and this plastic will drill a little easy, cut real easy. I'll come over and then I drill this one, I'll point it towards the black and do the same thing. Okay, let's drill some holes. So we get ready to drill the holes. It's a good idea to wear gloves, protect your hands, as well as safety glasses, because you are drilling plastic and you don't want to get any plastic in your eye. So I'm going to drill right through, like I said, this top hole. So after you go through, just bend the bit over a little bit, that hole. Pull the coupling out. This is why you shouldn't put it in so hard. Alright. The next spot, I'll just drill through. Sure to keep your hands out of the way. And same thing, just bend it over that direction a little bit. So you see what I'm shooting for here now is so that the pin will go through the two holes. You see that the hole I drilled is right just below the lip. So as you repeat that on the other side. Check that one. So it goes through as well. So both holes seem to be lining up really nice. Go right through. Okay, so as long as we have the drill out, let's drill our other hole. One hole we have to drill, and that's the 1/16 hole through our stopper. You just hold in a pair of pliers to protect your hand. Just get right in the middle there, and then drill on through. We have that hole. Alright. So now we got all the drilling done, and we get to the assembly of our parts. So originally when I made this, I just taped on the two stakes onto the coupling and just used a lot of duct tape to do that. You see it's not real strong. So then the next version, I actually put a hose clamp, this style hose clamp around, which held a lot better. But as I tightened it down, I noticed if I go too tight, these things will start collapsing on me and start folding over. And then someone else pointed out to me that these stakes this style might be kind of hard to stuff into hard ground. So, you know, maybe this style of stake is better. So this one, I'm going to use this type of stake. Whatever you have that's convenient will work. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use this tape to hold in place before I have to clamp on there. That black stripe, I'm going to put it on the black stripe side here. And then I'll stick another one on this side here. And the tape is just to hold it in place while you're doing this. I found it's just kind of a lot to try to, with one person to juggle all these parts. So then I'll just slide over the hose clamp. Now you can use a screwdriver to tighten these hose clamps. I actually find it easier if you have a socket set or a wrench. Tighten it down, it's a little bit easier to do that. it good and tight on there. And that's not going anywhere. So now I can just stuff that into the ground. I got this, my hose clamp is too long, so I got this kind of sticking out over here just for safety, just to keep anybody from catching their hand on that. I think I'm just going to tape that down flat. Just get it out of the way. Okay. So now I can stick my pins right through here. After I get the Coke bottle in there, you can see it coming together. Alright, so now the next step is with the washer, the plunger we drilled out, and the inflation needle. So what I learned is not all soda bottles are created equal. This is one I bought from Fiesta. It was I can't remember the off-brand soda. The bottle looked the same. This is like a Dr. Pepper bottle, but there's enough differences here that when I built this, one sealed well and one didn't. The Dr. Pepper one just used the single washer. You'll see what I'm talking about. But now this other soda bottle, I had to put another spacer in there to get the dimensions, the tolerances right, or the bottle leaked a little bit. So this would be a little bit of trial and error. The way you'll do this is you'll put the washer around the inflation needle first, and then you'll just stick it through the cork. Inflation needle through the washer onto the rubber cork. That just drops in here. We're going to attach a pump to this side. To make the pins that's holding the bottle onto the coupling and we're pulling out, I simply used a coat hanger. If you just have a pair of pliers, you may not have noticed this before, but inside the middle of the pliers, that is actually a wire cutter. And you can put that on your pliers, put the pliers on your coat hanger and squeeze it, and it will cut the coat hanger. Then I found it's easiest when the coat hanger is still put together, in bigger pieces. Just bend this back to give yourself a spot to tie your string onto, and then chop that off. So there's one of your pins. And then on the other side, I just bend it around as well. There's your other pin. And then the way I tied them was, I have one piece of string that ties the two pins together, and then I put another piece on there. So when I pull it, that way, if you get an even pull with both of them as you pull them out of the coupling. So you're having problems getting the pins in, maybe the holes aren't quite lined up. So I'm going to just go both sides and make sure they're kind of aimed over there a little bit. Try it again. So lean it over a little bit, and much easier. Okay, had to drill it out a little bit, so now we're ready to try it out. We pull out both pins, and then let it launch. This would come out when it launches. All right. Well, let's go to the park and test it out.
Alright, so putting the rod in the ground first. So before the dowel rod, but now we're going to use this metal rod since I want some more strength. Just drive it down pretty far. So to load it up, get some water in the bottle. stick the work on that. Insert the pins. I'm going to rotate it a little bit over towards the pin you want to put in. Now rotate it back the other direction for this pin. Go through those spots. Okay. So now we're just going to, it's easy to put the pump on before you go to this next step. You just leave the pump on, there's no need to take it off between each student. And then slide it down. Pressure stakes in the ground a little bit. And we're ready to start pumping. We're going to take it up to 50 psi. So, okay, so the gauge there, or it's lower 50 psi. So now we're going to clear the launch site. Now you got a countdown. 3, 2, 1. So then when the next student comes up for the next launch, or the next student group, just pull this out. Whatever level they think is best. And they'll come up. And you just put the fork, stop it right back down in the same bottle. And they can just insert their pins. Slide it down. And the next launch is ready. So when the students pull the string, make sure they pull the string straight away from both pins and not off to the side like this. That won't work. You need to pull the pin straight out this way. 3, 2, 1.